What's going on, guys? Supersavage789 here, bringing you guys in a video. And today we're doing What If Ash Became an Officer Part 2. We covered a lot in the last part, so we aren't going to do a recap, and instead, we'll merely pick up from the moment we left off last time. So if you haven't caught up to the series, and you're curious what led to Ash becoming an officer, go watch Part 1. It's a really good series, and you know what? It's done quite well on the channel, so yeah, we're going to be doing some more of it. And yeah, let's just get straight into it. Officer Jenny would listen to what the gang has to say and reluctantly allows Ash to take responsibility for the Meowth. If he does anything wrong though, then they will both be punished. Ash would gulp rather nervously, but would agree nonetheless. So Officer Jenny leaves, leaving the gang and Meowth alone. Now I'm going to say this right now to avoid any confusion. Ash isn't catching Meowth, and won't be using him like he does the other Pokemon. Meowth will simply be accompanying the gang as their new companion, though he definitely doesn't like it. Meowth would attempt to flee, but Growlithe immediately pins him down. The gang let him know that they will let him roam around freely, but if he tries to escape, they'll be forced to tie him up. They might as well try and get along. Meowth doesn't like this, but knows he doesn't really have a choice. So he begins to go with the gang for the time being, looking for the moment to escape. The gang end up finding Horsey, where it tries to warn them of the Tentacruel. Meowth would be able to translate though, and after some nagging from Misty, he relays the information about the Tentacruel and Tentacool. They would still agree to help stop them, and Jesse and James end up creating a massive one. It then begins causing chaos with the gang trying their best to help people, as well as saving Horsey. Meowth would try to escape, but Squirtle manages to stop him. The episode then ends with both Ash and Misty giving a speech to Tentacruel that ends up turning them good. Meowth would listen attentively to that. The episode then goes on, with Misty catching Horsey. The episode of Maiden's Peak would then occur. During this, Jessie and Meowth would temporarily reunite when Ash and Misty run into her. After the scuffle with Ghastly, Jessie and James would again be separated from Meowth due to some comedic event. It's a kid show, so I'm sure you can fill in the gaps. They then also proceed to run into the herd of Butterfree. Despite not having a Butterfree, Ash and the gang still decide to watch the Butterfree find mates. They also notice a pink Butterfree that doesn't have a mate, which saddens them. Team Rocket then show up and end up stealing all the Butterfree. Meowth tries to get back to his friends, but Squirtle again manages to stop him. Squirtle proceeds to detain Meowth temporarily while the gang head over to the warehouse. They then proceed to defeat Team Rocket and free the Butterfree. The pink Butterfree would still be mateless and rather sad, so Misty, thinking it's cute, decides to ask it to join her team. It'd agree, and so Misty adds a Butterfree to her team. Moving along, they'd end up seeing a mirage of a girl leading to Ash falling off a cliff and being saved by Bulbasaur. This confuses the gang, but they keep moving regardless, arriving in Saffron. Team Rocket still lure the gang into a trap where they capture Growlithe and Meowth. The little girl then shows up and teleports Jessie and James away, again separating Team Rocket from their cat companion. She also frees the gang. This makes them confused yet again. The gang would head to the Pokemon Center, where they overhear some trainers talking about the gym leader and how some of their buddies disappeared heading in there. Overhearing this, the gang approach them and further learn about what happened with them disappearing. Ash would decide to head to the gym to find out what Sabrina is doing. As they're going though, a man appears and warns them not to challenge the gym. They ask him about the trainers, with him being silent about it, telling them that he wishes for them to avoid this fate. He would inform them about Lavender Town, where they should go pick up a ghost Pokemon. So the arc with Ash meeting Haunter and giving it to Sabrina goes the same, with the only difference being that Squirtle has to look after Meowth, so he can't escape the tower. The gang then encounter a Mankey with it evolving into Primeape and beginning to thrash about. They then have to begin to fight it. Using all his Pokemon, Ash fights off the Primeape as best he can, but is struggling to do so. He still gets motivated to win, and thanks to the help from the 3 starters in Growlithe, he is able to defeat it. Team Rocket attempt to catch it, but Growlithe sends them blasting off. Again, without Meowth. The gang then arrive at Celadon, where a whole lot of nothing takes place really. Ash and Meowth both insult Perfume, so they simply go hang out alone, where we get to see them talk. Ash would take the opportunity to ask Meowth why he can talk. Well, he doesn't want to talk about it, he doesn't see why not. So he begrudgingly explains his backstory about Meowsy and how she rejected him. Ash wouldn't know what to say, but that's when a fire starts at the gym, led by Team Rocket. Like normal, Ash saves Gloom and the fire is put out. Erica then apologizes to Ash for earlier. Next episode is the episode about Drowsy and Hypno accidentally luring kids away, which goes pretty much normally, at least until the end. Instead, Ash should be the one who wants to help Psyduck with his headaches. He leans down to talk to him, but a Pokeball falls off his belt, landing on the duck, leading to Ash accidentally catching Psyduck instead of Misty. The episode on Scissor Street then goes the same, with Brock still getting Vulpix. The only difference is that Meowth is there, and Squirtle has to stop him and Team Rocket reuniting. They encounter a Hitmonchan led by Anthony, where the gang is tasked to win the P1. Ash has to enter Rhyhorn due to not having any fighting Pokemon. The fights are a lot more harder, but thanks to Rhyhorn's strength, it is able to power through the majority of the fights, though it does sustain lots of damage over time. Ultimately, Team Rocket would use their stolen Hitmonlee to combat Rhyhorn, doing quite well. While they don't have Meowth to cheat for them, they are still doing quite well thanks to the type matchup. When it looks like it's on the ropes though, Rhyhorn starts to glow. His body morphs and he evolves into Rhydon, allowing him to win the fight and ultimately the P1. Anthony won't offer to train Rhydon though, since it isn't a fighting type. The gang arrive at Grinchy City power plant, where they end up helping turn on the power and defeating the Grimer. Ash wouldn't catch Muck, however, due to not having the drive to. They then run into the Diglett, where that episode also goes the same. The gang accidentally end up in Fuchsia Gym not long after, where Team Rocket shows up, creating a smokescreen and stealing the Voltorb and Meowth. They begin celebrating due to getting Meowth back, with Meowth smiling a somber grin. That's when Psyduck comes out and begins to access his psychic powers to stop them. As he's doing it though, Team Rocket go limp for some odd reason. They're launched away promptly after, with mysterious slash marks on their back. The episode where Ash has to ride a Ponytail in a race goes the same. Squirtle will be watching Meowth in the crowd during the race, so he can't escape though. The episodes in the Savari Zone take place, except Ash doesn't catch any Tauros due to not wanting them. The Ditto episode begins to take place, however since they don't have Meowth, Team Rocket can't do their bait and switch, meaning they simply get bodied quicker. The gang encounter a herd of Pikachu, but promptly leave them alone and continue moving. The Eevee episode takes place, except Misty's Butterfree replaces Ash's Pidgeotto in tracking Team Rocket. Beyond that though, nothing changes. The Snorlax episode also goes the same. In Dark City, upon learning of the Yasin-Cast gang, Ash would immediately spring to action to stop them. Using all his Pokemon, he steps in front of the two sides and tells them to knock it off. They're endangering people and Pokemon for a petty fight, which isn't what a gym leader would do. He proceeds to then defeat them, leading to Nurse Joy making her presence known and making them turn over a new leaf. Even Ash decided to chip in some work to help rebuild, with Brock and Misty also tagging along. Due to them being distracted, Team Rocket decide to kidnap Meowth yet again, which they successfully do. They save Meowth and begin to celebrate with him. He would also begin to celebrate, and so Team Rocket decide to celebrate with sandwiches. After a couple hours, Ash and the gang realize Meowth is missing and use Growlithe to begin to track him. Unfortunately, the scent begins to die down. That is until Squirtle points out a bunch of small pieces of food left behind. A trail. Growlithe sniffs it to reveal it's Team Rocket's scent. They track them down, but Team Rocket is shocked to see them. They send out Arbok and Weezing to fight, with Squirtle going ahead to fight both single-handedly. Meowth would laugh, telling the twerps that now he's back in his rightful place. If they leave now, then they won't steal their Pokemon. Jesse and James don't agree with this, however. Squirtle to shout to Meowth to remember all the times they've had. It's not too late to rectify his mistakes. He thought they were friends. Meowth turns his back to them and begins to walk away, but Squirtle just shouts louder. It was always him stopping Meowth because he knew he could be good. He was a criminal before, but he was given a second chance. He knows Meowth can do the same. He left the trail of food behind for them for a reason. A tear drops from his eye as Weezing uses Smokescreen, allowing Team Rocket to escape in the balloon. The gang starts to shout for Meowth, with it being clear that none of them have given up on him. He remembers all the good times they've had together, despite him trying constantly to steal their Pokemon. Meowth would stand on the balloon's edge with tears in his eyes and shouts, "Take me with you! I want to do good!" Team Rocket would call him a traitor and proceed to knock him off the balloon, leaving him free-falling. Unfortunately, Psyduck and Butterfree are too tired from working to grab Meowth, leaving them all freaking out. Squirtle would then proceed to run as fast as he can towards his friend to help. From all the experience he's gotten from his scuffles with Meowth, combined with the passion, the sadness, the anguish, and the relief, Squirtle will begin to glow white. He uses Water Gun to launch himself into the air, his body morphing as he launches himself faster and faster. He then grabs Meowth and pulls him into a shell with him, the light subsiding. Meowth pops out a bit dazed as they land on the ground. Then, the newly evolved Wartortle pops out of his shell and smiles. The gang tell Meowth that they are quite happy he's coming along, with Wartortle even giving him a friendly headlock. Meowth tells him not to patronize him though. The gang will then continue going without worrying about Meowth betraying them ever again. Ash was right. Pokemon can change. And that's where we're going to leave off part 2. If you're enjoying this series, why not hit the like button and support the channel and let me know you want to see another part. I really like the story I constructed with Meowth, though some would argue it might be a bit too rushed. I think 20 episodes, give or take, is fine for this arc. I was thinking about maybe leaving it a bit longer, but nah, I think it works here. And, yeah. Bye!